it's ringing.
Oh, jeez. And we're recording?
Yeah, we are recording. We're recording and it's ringing.
Hello?
Bilal Dardai. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Ah, he can't hear me.
Oh, no. Oh, God, and the
Oh,
baby's
jeez.
Hello?
Bilal, can you hear me?
there. Well,
No, he can't hear me.
oh, no. What happened?
30 days in the hole. 30 days in the hole.
Oh, yeah. Come on in, man. That's it.
All right, that was a fiasco.
That
But
was a terrible fiasco.
now we're back. Here, let's try this. I'm dialing Bilal.
It's just because I'm here.
That's probably it. You are the cause of all problems. No, he left.
Hello?
Hello, Bilal Dardai. It's John Pearson and the cause of all problems, Eric Roth.
Hello, John Pearson and cause of all problems, Eric Ross.
Look at you got both of us today.
No, nice, that's great.
What are you up to on this? Early morning for me, but probably not for you since you have a baby.
Yeah, when you first called these, back when Eric was causing all the problems, I was actually in the process of feeding my baby. He was in my lap. I was watching some TV and he was eating. That's actually just finished up, so now I'm just wandering the kitchen.
Bilal Dardai, neo-futurist friend of mine, you have 15 days to write and conceive a radio play based on the word
Binge.
What was the word?
Binge.
Things?
Binge. Like you go out and you binge on alcohol or whatever.
Binge. Got it.
Binge, B-I-N-G-E.
Got it. And okay, this relates to the other thing that's going on this month.
Yes, it does. Yes, which we will talk about soon in our next recording.
Yes, I figured that maybe you weren't talking about it yet, which is why I did not speak it.
I will edit out all the speak of this
whole
thing.
thing out.
All right, Bilal, there's your assignment.
You play on Binge.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, Bilal, talk to you later.
Bye, Bilal.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
How you doing, boy? We're here for 30 days. 30 days in the hole.
And we're on now.
30 days in the hole. 30 days in the hole.
Hello and welcome to The Hole in 30 Days. I am John Pearson.
And I am Eric Roth, and in the next 30 days, John and I have the task of creating an audio piece based on the theme Binge and Purge.
So I'll give two definitions here of two different words. Binge, a period or bout, usually brief, of excessive indulgence, as in eating, drinking, alcohol, beverages, etc. So the only other one I have for binge besides that one is Binge is a German girl's name. The meaning of the name is from the kettle-shaped hollow. Purge. To free from impurities, purify. To rid of sin, guilt, or defilement. Or to rid. To get rid of people considered undesirable. To cause evacuation of the bowels. That makes sense. And then the last one I'm going to read here is to become pure or clean.
Whoa.
So those are our definitions. What the hell do you want to do with it this time around?
This time around, I actually just got a job, thank God. And I got a job doing architecture tours on a boat on the Chicago River. And so right now I am binging on a whole lot of Chicago history, specifically like downtown Chicago history and architecture history. And you all are going to get to experience my binge of Chicago history. And in 3 days, I'm going to be going on my first dry run of the tour. And so hopefully after that, I'll be able to do the tour. But it's a very clean and I think kind of gross history of Chicago because it's like, very much about all of these rich dudes that threw up buildings and made playgrounds for the rich. My purge is going to be the tour that I would want to give, or some sort of version of the tour that I would want to give.
Right, so they will get your soapbox tour.
Yeah.
I've been having a difficult time trying to do this, figure this one out. So I did, in the studying of the words, I also was searching out some music that we could use. I learned that 9 out of every 10 songs that have the word purge in them on iTunes are death metal bands. So I may explore with some death metal bands in this podcast. Also, one of the other things I saw with purge definitions from the Oxford one was sin and guilt. So I'm really interested in this idea of guilty pleasures. Also, we're going to do, in the middle of this podcast, we're going to do a fruit cleanse.
3 days of drinking only juice.
Yes. And I do want to say that we're not doing it for health reasons because it's actually a bunch of bullshit.
It's unhealthy.
Most of the things online I've seen are not. It says it's a cleanse, but really, and it's no diet because you lose water weight and then you just gain it back because you haven't eaten really in 3 days. But I think it was more about all of us doing something together.
Yeah, because we're getting Jessica and Kurt and Bilal.
All involved in it, yes.
Yeah.
So we will all be doing a 3-day fruit flush diet.
Yeah. And I'm going to be asking my friend Becky to do maybe some sort of song piece for this one. Becky is a comedian and a theater maker and a musician, and so she's going to be involved in this one.
So on that note, let's start these next 30 days.
Yeah, number 3, Binge and Purge.
Tonight I'm binging a little on the thing called alcohol. I think me and Eric are planning that on, this is day 1, that on the night before the fruit flush, we will actually get more drunk than we've ever been. I don't get drunk to excess usually. I usually go from being partly drunk to being sick. I have motion sickness. But that night we're going to try to drink and sort of documentarize the binging. But right now I just want to read this on Netflix while I've been drinking some whiskey. I would like to read for you this nice little synopsis of a foreign action and adventure film called War of the Arrows. When Mongols abduct Ja-in on her wedding day, her brother Nam Yi, still reeling from the tragedy that claimed their father's life, sets out to find her. Starring Hale Park, Sung Young Ryu, directed by Han Min Kim. That's it. Thanks. Goodbye.
Day 2, John here. I'm at the Neo Futures Theater doing my janitorizing of the space. And I just remembered that part of this fruit diet is drinking a lot of water, which I tend not to drink much water at all. And I can start feeling the Diet Coke seething through my pores. It starts smelling like ammonia when I sweat, which is pretty horrible. So I'm going to start trying to drink a lot of water. I just downed 2 cups of water and I feel a little queasy.
Oh, hello. This is the future John, which is on day 32 since our podcast is being put out late for many different varying reasons. But I was just editing this section and I realized that it might be confusing after this update on day 2. The actual fruit flush diet will start on day 16. Right now I was just practicing drinking water.
Hey, it's Eric. It's day 3. I'm right now working on my architecture tour, and I am binging on Chicago history information so hard my brain feels like it's going to melt out of its ears.
I'm studying for this boat tour, and there are just so many facts about downtown and the river and the buildings. The main stem of 1973 and it's supported by 9 steel 102s. This is the first time I've studied intensely since college. Up late, downing coffee, testing myself on names of buildings and heights and architects. I didn't drink coffee or alcohol for most of college. God, that just sounds like I'm peeing. I don't know how kids can drink in college. Not to be a cranky old guy, but talk about putting a huge roadblock in the way of your education. I acquired my own addictions. Video games, writing, crawling through places on campus where I wasn't allowed. Sports arenas, offices, stealing architectural plans and maps. If you get caught in the steam tunnels, you'll get kicked out of school. But drinking to excess, the way most people I went to school with did, seemed stupid. A terrible idea. I could hear them parade past my dorm room on Friday and Saturday nights, and Thursdays, and Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Monday, Sunday during the day. When I was younger, I thought it would be cool to be someone who drank and did drugs.
Would you do heroin? Sure.
My father ran a gymnastics school, and as a result, my family had a lot of Ukrainian gymnast friends growing up. We would spend late nights on lawns, eating confusing Eastern European food, dancing to terrible pop music, and my father would pass me vodka shots across picnic tables. I started drinking secretly in 7th grade, alone in basements or at parties. If no hooch was available, we'd do that thing the news warned parents about where we held our breath and choked each other against the wall till we passed out.
Hold it. Oh shit, he just passed out.
I smoked my first joint with Damon in the alley near our grade school. We ducked behind garbage bins and away from the wind with our crudely rolled marijuana cigarette we bought off a Latin king on our school bus. I didn't feel anything. Damon claimed he did, as he adopted that stoned look we had become familiar with through teen stoner films like Idle Hands and Half Baked.
Haagen-Dazs ice cream bars, a whole lot of hot. Make sure chocolate. Gotta have
I
chocolate.
had terrible taste in movies when I was a
Popcorn,
kid.
red popcorn, graham crackers. Graham crackers.
Nah,
marshmallow.
that's kind of funny. Freshman year of high school, I continued my half-assed attempts to be a party animal, rebel, stoner, drinker, punk kid. But I was too much of a loser to get invited to parties. I became the biggest rebel on the math team. If anyone needs some rocking guitar imitations, I am for hire. I drew math equations on the side of my head, shaved clean for my mohawk, and found out with the rest of my nerd friends that Monica had OD'd at a party none of us were invited to. She didn't die. Just got rushed out in an ambulance. I figured I'd rebel against the rebellion, accept my loser fate, and never do drugs or drink again. The rest is history. Oh, except I did start drinking again when I was a senior in college. 21 years old, probably the least cool age to start drinking. I just fucking nailed that dry run of the tour. I'm going to be doing tours on the Chicago River about architecture this summer. Stay tuned.
Day 4.
Sensations curse me in my ways. Phosphate me blind on empty.
John, this is Tiff. You sent out an email asking people for their guilty pleasures. I have a lot. I have many, actually. The number one guilty pleasure I have is pop music, specifically Kesha. It's a sad one. I follow her on Twitter even. Okay, hope it's worth it.
I could spend hours at a time watching online promotional videos for chiropractors where they narrate their way through the adjustments they're about to perform.
The idea of guilty pleasures is interesting to me because it seems like what's defined as a guilty pleasure is something that you should be ashamed of liking or something that you shouldn't like because it's degrading or it's somehow not cool enough. Like if you're a writer, you shouldn't like reading Twilight because it's bad. Or if you're a musician, you shouldn't like Nickelback or U2 because they're bad. And I understand that to a certain degree, but also, if you like something, you should just like it, no matter how bad other people may think it is. Or even if you think it's bad. I mean, maybe you like it because it reminds you of something. Maybe you like it because it speaks to you in a certain way, or because it recalls that feeling that you felt when you were younger and not broken down by the world.
I love it when my neighbors, like in an apartment building or when I was in college, like neighbors in the dorms, when they're having loud sex, I will listen and I will tell other people that I'm annoyed by it, or that I'll tell people the story with a tone of voice that's like, isn't that crazy? Or like, oh, kind of gross. But in the moment when it's happening, I am at the door listening and loving it.
My guilty pleasure is Twilight, both the movies and the books. I love Twilight. I know it's wrong, but I can't help it, especially all that sparkly vampire nonsense.
Once in a while, I love to ride my bicycle, somewhat intoxicated, through the quiet streets in the dead of night. I know this action is stupid and completely irresponsible, yet I can't help myself, nor want to.
I don't really have any guilty pleasures because I don't tend to do things that I think other people wouldn't approve of, and I kind of hate that.
This is Evan. My two guilty pleasures are Panda Express, gourmet Chinese food for the fast food wallet, and Falco. In 1986, I bought Falco 3 on vinyl, and it doesn't just have Rock Me Amadeus on it. He actually does a cover of It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, so I suggest picking it up.
My guilty pleasure, I think anyone who knows me knows that my guilty pleasure, plural, are anything with sugar in it. Candy, ice cream, cake, cookies. Sometimes just little tubes of frosting, if that's all I can find. I'm pretty sure it's emotional, but once I start on it, I totally can't stop. The key is to just never start eating anything sweet.
Gloria by Laura Branigan, an Oscar Mayer liver sausage straight out of the tube.
I sometimes stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning watching television shows or playing video games, even on nights when I have to get up at around 8 a.m., because there's something about knowing that I'm making the wrong decision that just makes me want to commit to it.
This is Bilal Dardai on day 5.
No beer today. You gotta come around on a Monday.
I'm standing in my nursery. I'm looking over my son Robin, who is not going to sleep despite the late hour, but he's otherwise relatively calm. I'm thinking a lot about the word binge, because binge is actually a word I don't care for, like the sound of it. You know, there's some words that you just find aesthetically unpleasing, and binge and words with that construction, hinge, just don't appeal to me. But I was thinking about also trying to find something to write about that is not the usual thing you binge on. So my task is, nothing about food, nothing about drink, and I started coming with the idea of words, of people who binge on words, people who binge on vocabulary, or binge on books, perhaps, and what that means and what that costs you. That's where I'm going right now. It's day 5, and as usual, these things tend to change and mutate over time.
Day 7.
I just got a phone call that woke me up at 11 a.m. I mean, for many people that wouldn't be early. But I got a call to jump into a show that's going to be touring for 2 weeks, where I would play Galileo, and I'm not a very good memorizer. I've done Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind for 15 years, where I've had to memorize lines every week, but I'm still very shaky on that. But it might be interesting to be doing this podcast from on the road. We'll see how that relates to Binge and Purge. I do have a fear of going back to doing regular character acting, which I've actually been talking about doing, because that's pretty much how I started out, writing and being a character actor. So maybe I'm purging my fear, or maybe I'm binging on theater and purging my fear.
As a side note, I did take the 3-week tour. It was with my friend Steph Garrett, who, ironically, only 3 months earlier, stepped into my show Chalk and Salt Water for the last weekend, when we lost Becky, who happens to be part of this podcast. The next morning, day 8, I packed a suitcase and was on a bus to Cincinnati. 5 hours later, with only an hour in the Madcap Puppets warehouse, being fitted for a costume, learning how to work mics and how to build the set, and just a few tips on how to run puppets, I was once again put into a van, and 6 hours later, I was in Upper State, Michigan, to begin the tour.
Books on Tape presents Devil in the White City by Eric Larson.
Yeah.
Read by Scott Brick.
All right. This will be super informative.
Evil is imminent.
Mm-hmm.
A note.
Great. Okay.
In Chicago at the end of the 19th century, amid the smoke of industry and the clatter of trains,
Been there.
There lived two men.
Yeah.
Both handsome, both blue-eyed,
Oh, that's...
and both unusually adept at their chosen skills.
Yeah. Nope.
Each embodied an element of the great dynamic that characterized the rush of America toward the 20th century.
Never mind.
When I woke up this morning, I couldn't recall a single thing at all. Dropped the night before, stepped on my elbow, road rash on my knee, fix that fucking head again, lots of memory. It's hard to keep a grudge from me. It's say we know how things should be. Coffee in the morning, couple beers at night, and the weather does what it does outside. I told you.
It's Eric. It's day 9. I messed up because I was supposed to call Becky yesterday, but I didn't. I'm giving her a call right now, and let's see if I get a hold of her.
Can Miss Becky please raise her hand, bro? I need some of that good Becky right now, bro.
Hey, Becky, it's Eric.
How's it going?
It's going okay. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Cool.
Give me that Becky on this liquor, oh so heavy.
Your assignment is to write a piece based on the words binge and purge.
Oh boy. Okay. High school dance. Okay. And anything else? Any other rules?
That's it. It'll be, I don't know, maybe around like 2 to 5 minutes.
Okay, 2 to 5 minutes. Awesome.
Give me that Becky. Give me that Becky.
Day 11, John here. Haven't been keeping much track. Been going through the upper parts of Michigan, doing this puppet show going on today. Getting in the van.
Yes, I know you're hungry. And here comes dinner.
This is Bilal Dardai on day 12. Ironically, I meant to send this last night on day 11, but I actually had too much to eat and drink, and then I fell asleep while reading The Hunger Games. So use that for whatever you want to talk about binging.
We're on your recording.
That was my wife and child, who I just fed, actually.
Didn't feed me.
I did not feed my wife. As far as the piece itself, I'm still working on the idea of somebody who is eating words. I think the idea right now about a guy who's methodically eating the dictionary. But I was also assigned a radio play.
Methodically eating the dictionary.
Which has led me to think about, how to do it with multiple voices and methodically eating the dictionary. I'm trying to figure out how to get that taken care of. That's where I am right now, and that is the end of my update.
So that gaping hole will grow. Glutton is deceit. Glutton is deceit. Glutton is deceit.
Hello, this is John on day 12. I am in a small town in Michigan called Durand. We're in a fairly high biker district, so we were at a bar called the 206, which we were getting a lot of strange looks, but this friend of mine, Dylan, who I just met, who's one of the puppeteers, it's kind of those people that he sticks out so much as they thought he was a cop. They thought he was come there to bust him. So he was really specific, the bartender, about looking at our IDs. And it turns out that when Dylan's in that sort of situation, he sort of plays up. And we didn't know if we were going to get beat up or if they were just going to love us forever. So it seems like they were going to love us forever. Even though one guy had tattoos about white power, and he had one called a woodpecker, which I had no idea what that meant. I found out that's used to be a derogatory terms that black people would call rednecks. I had never heard that before. Woodpecker. And we drank a lot that night, and we haven't drank since. So we had one binge night, and I've pretty much been purging, a lot of sweat. I've been drinking a lot more water. I did my first show yesterday, and halfway through, there's about a 20-minute stretch, and I had to learn all these lines in 2 days and learn how to run puppets. There's a lot of work, and costume changes, and sound cues, and we had to set up the set ourselves. And my mouth went dry, like cotton dry, halfway through, and I had to like try to get through the show, like only barely being able to speak. And I also forgot the last line, but it's sort of a question. Basically the line is to the kids. This is a children's show, and it says, I want everyone to, you should never let go of your sense of wonder. The mysteries of science are everywhere out there in the universe, waiting for you to solve them. And I said, the mysteries of science are everywhere out there, waiting for you to... And I just paused and looked at the audience with my smile and completely forgot the last line of the play. And then the kids all started yelling words like discovery or science. And I just said, yes. And I ran off and said, goodbye, everyone.
So I've been thinking about binging and being straight edge, and I often wonder if 15-year-old me would like me now. So I decided to ask myself using a special time machine called voice modulation. Hey, Eric, how are you?
Huh? Fine.
I'm you from the future.
The fuck are you wearing?
This is a button-down shirt. I work now.
Sucker. What do you do?
I gave architecture tours on a boat on the river.
To tourists?
Mostly, yeah.
Ugh.
There are worse jobs. I worked for Dad for a few years.
That sounds fucking terrible.
I forgot how much I used to swear. You love those Kevin Smith movies, don't you?
Snooch to the mooch.
Ugh. And what are you listening to?
A lot of Minor Threat, Dead Kennedys, Screeching Weasel, No Effects, The Clash. You still listen to punk?
Yeah, not as frequently. You'll get into a lot of post-punk in like a year, and that's going to kind of dictate your musical tastes for a while.
What bands?
I promise you've never heard of them.
Try me.
We'll start with Husker Du.
I've heard of them.
No, you haven't. That's just the thing you say when you haven't heard of things.
Did you travel back in time to make fun of me? That's pretty fucking lame.
Sorry, you're right. I think I'm just a little self-conscious, and I'm taking it out on you.
Can we hurry this up?
Sure. You busy?
No.
Okay, well, you're straight edge, right?
Uh-huh.
And you've been straight edge for about a year?
Yes.
And you think you will be straight edge forever?
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Well, I've been drinking for about 4 years, pretty consistently, almost every day. Does this upset you?
Yeah. I mean, I think the world wants to control your body as much as possible. And the idea of giving up control to a substance or anything is really scary.
Yeah, I remember thinking that.
And do you have a counter-argument?
Just that the idea of having control is an illusion.
Fuck you.
Yeah, it's pretty weak. I drink coffee now, too. And I get excited when I'm in someone's apartment and it looks really cool.
Excited?
No, not really excited.
Well, you have a job downtown, wear button-up shirts, drink coffee, and you're 25. You are pretty much everyone I hate.
I also get drunk and loud on the weekends.
I am going to fucking kill myself.
Please don't.
I'm doing this for you. For both of us.
There are ways that I'm cool.
Good, because I think suicide is for cowards.
Agreed. Sometimes I drive around with my windows open, blasting punk.
That's pretty cool.
I went to school for gender and women's studies.
Whoa, awesome.
I am an actor. I improvise all the time. I'm a vegetarian. I make art with John Pearson.
Those are all cool.
Oh, so you know who John Pearson is then?
You're a fucking smartass. Who's John Pearson?
Jughead.
Like from Screeching Weasel?
Yep.
That's fucking cool. How'd you land that gig?
Trust me, you grew up to be a pretty cool dude.
Ew, you sound like Dad.
Fuck my life.
Well, I certainly learned a valuable lesson here.
I guess we all have. Hey, thanks for growing up into such a cool dude.
Fuck off, loser.
Fuck off, loser, to you too.
Hey, John.
Hello, Kurt.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Jessica.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
How's the puppet?
How's the puppets?
Yeah, the puppet show.
Yeah, it's going really well. We had a really good one today, so I think I feel like I did something good.
That's good. It's good to be proud of your work.
Yes. But are you ready to receive your assignment for this month's podcast?
I'm very excited.
You have the second end of Bilal's assignment, which was binge. Your assignment is purge.
Purge.
That's unhealthy.
Not necessarily, Kurt. Purge.
Purge.
Purge, yes.
I accept.
Well, then I give it to you. So are you going to try that technique this time around where you...
She's gonna write it, and then she's going to record it, and then I'm going to use her recording in conjunction, collage, and mash everything up together.
Great. I miss you guys.
Miss you too.
You too.
Hurry home.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. She's so much fun to talk to, that girl. Okay, John here, day 14. I think this is my anti-guilty pleasure. I have about 30 channels of TV in this hotel room that they gave us. We gave us separate rooms for our day off, and there is shit on TV. Nothing good. And I have no guilty pleasures about liking any of these channels or any of these shows. It's all shit.
Day 15.
Hello, my name is Eric Siegel, and I'm going to purge myself of some guilty pleasures right now. One of them is I enjoy getting high late at night and then taking a long shower. That just seems wasteful. Another one is I really like making out with girls who taste like beer. Something just seems wrong about that. And finally, my guiltiest pleasure of all is, although very rare, whenever I'm at a McDonald's and they're serving breakfast, I will get 2 breakfasts. I'll get the Southern-style chicken biscuit and a sausage egg McMuffin, and I will eat both hash browns.
Hello, my name is Brenda Ariano, and my guilty pleasures are Dunkin' Donuts after 5, the TV show Smash, although I don't really watch it anymore, keeping old underwear even though after the elastic is worn off and they're kind of poochy in the bud because they're still basically covering your bits, and waking and baking.
Hey John, it's Phil. I have been known to purchase an entire bag of Ruffles potato chips, Dean's French onion dip, and a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola, and just eat the whole thing.
My name is Steve, and as embarrassing as this is, my guilty pleasure is Panic at the Disco's A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. I sing the crap out of that album.
I'm not too much of a TV watcher these days, but periodically MTV will have these shows called challenges. They feature people from past seasons of Real World and Road Rules, and they are sharing a house together and competing for prizes. They're absolutely awful, and I cannot get enough of them.
So I'm a pasty Scots-Irish Norwegian, but I love to be tan. So every once in a while I'll go to a tanning bed for 3 or 4 sessions, over the course of a couple weeks. And it's insanely stupid, but I love the way I look with a little bit of color. And I justify it by saying, we're all aging and dying and falling apart anyway, every day, so what does it matter? And as much as I wish it weren't true, or as much as I say that it isn't true, if you look at my life on paper, it's clear that I have a few secrets, at any given time. And then usually in a moment of weakness or stupidity, or maybe out of a need for compassion or, connection, I'll tell one of these secrets to someone, in strictest confidence, which is stupid, because if someone knows a secret, there's, probably everybody will eventually know that secret, and that could be dangerous. So maybe one of my guilty pleasures is, danger or drama or distraction.
My first reaction is just, I hate guilt. I grew up in an evangelical Christian home and felt, although Christianity is supposed to be about love, a lot of it had to do with guilt.
John, hey, also, Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds CD. Oh gosh.
I can't single out a pleasure that I feel truly guilty about. One where I get that shit-eating grin feeling. Many are tinged with shame,
and I think that's true for many people. Many struggle with feeling deserving of pleasure, happiness, success, etc. So even the little pleasures stir up a little guilt. Guilt being code word for shame. Personally, sadly, I feel the biggest shame over the most typical and mundane pleasures. Food indulgences, spending large amounts of money on myself, stuff like that. The flip side of this is I feel guilty less and less frequently. As I'm getting older, I appreciate life's pleasures more and care less about impressing others or measuring up to society's standards. I know I'm not cool anymore. In other words, I could give a shit.
John here with Steph Garrett. We're in, where are we?
We're in Frankenmuth.
What is Frankenmuth, Steph?
It's a small Bavarian town in Michigan.
We're about to get on to a boat tour. What is the technical term?
It's called the Bavarian Belle Riverboat Tour. It's a paddle wheel riverboat.
Good afternoon. Welcome aboard. This is the Bavarian Belle. This boat weighs over 50 tons with a capacity of 150 plus crew. And that many were on board, 140 could be up here on the upper deck, all standing along the rail on one side. The boat would still be stable. So you can walk around all you want. Boat's not going to move under you. We have soft drinks, bottled water, and coffee on the boat. They're all $1. We have a couple snacks on the boat, hot pretzels. You get them with or without salt or cheese. We also make the world's best popcorn on the boat. It's made in coconut oil. It's not good for you and it's $2.
So this whole thing is like you have to binge right now. This is what we're doing. We're binging, right?
Yeah, we're binging.
John, we have to get some fudge.
Oh, then you don't even have to.
We just have to.
Yeah, we'll get fudge.
I don't even like sweets, but we have to get fudge.
I love fudge.
All right.
That's a yes.
Day 16.
John here, back in Durand, our puppet show. Came back to the small town of Durand, and I grabbed some fruit from the free breakfast, so I'm ready to begin my fruit flush. We'll see how that goes.
This is day 17. This is Bilal Dardai, and I have finally managed to put together my piece. It's a long one. Got a short story out of it. So, without further ado, this is a piece called Pronounced. It begins, as these stories often do, with aardvark. Jerome Westerly swore for the 8th time in as many months that this was his last trip out, that the next time Mr. North called him into his office to say, "Son, we're sending you back into the field," Jerome would stand erect, straighten his tie, and say, "Absolutely not, sir, and I'm 6 years younger than you, and its industrial vacuum cleaner components not the goddamned Bastogne, so stop calling it the field, you college legacy, starch-necked little toad. I quit." Maybe he would leave out the part about Mr. North being a little toad, but Jerome would definitely quit on the spot. He swore he would this time. This hotel was the final straw, the only hotel in this part of Pennsylvania that the company was willing to reimburse for, with its vomitous color palette and air like ancient peanut shells. Jerome had convinced himself that the conditions would be tolerable if there was one cable sports channel and room service. The sports channel was offering up-to-the-minute coverage of the World Series of Croquet, but at least there had been room service. When the dictionary arrived outside his door, presented under a metal dome, he was at first perplexed and then incensed. He called down to the front desk. The woman who answered must have come on right after he checked in. "Excuse me," Jerome said. "How can I help you?" she said. "I ordered room service." "Have you been waiting more than an hour?" "My room service arrived. It's a copy of the Oxford English Dictionary." "So what seems to be the problem?" "I ordered a steak and potatoes." "Well, there you go." "What?" "Enjoy your meal." "What?" "You're welcome." Repeated phone calls left him on hold, listening to redundant Muzak covers of Burt Bacharach songs. Jerome ripped the phone from the wall and hurled it across the room. It felt deeply false, like something he'd been ordered to do to indicate his emotions to an audience. He dropped the dictionary on his bed. "Fine," Jerome says aloud. "This is what they sent up for room service, and this is what I'm gonna eat." He decides to start at the beginning, ferociously tearing the first page of A from the book, crumpling it savagely in his fist, shredding it with his teeth, and then chewing with pronounced spite. Strangely, it tastes wonderful. He pulls it from his mouth and examines it, finds that it remains a saliva-soaked mass of pulp, but when he places it back on his tongue, it is prime rib, and butter, and the ideal comforting heat of just enough pepper. Jerome swallows and rips the next page from the dictionary, and the next, and the next. The vast catalog of words related to aerodynamics taste of fresh greens slathered in cheeses. Midway through the letter B, his mother's voice scolds him for his manners. He ceases to paw at his linguistic smorgasbord like some wild beast, and instead begins to carefully use the provided knife and fork to remove each page surgically, to take small, thoughtful bites of nouns and adjectives. The word culinary has so many tastes at once that they all cancel each other out. Dachshund tastes like chicken. Jerome decides to stop being so methodical about it, stop being as boring as he has been for everything else in his life, the safe choices of career and college, the demure and sexless marriage, the bland automobiles, and begins to skip about in the book at random. Obsequious fills his mouth with jammy fruits like a robust red wine. Warmonger is all spices and fats. Irony, ironically, does not crunch the way Jerome expects it would, but instead has the sweet melt-away qualities of a well-made flan. By the time sunrise hits, he has lost count of how much vocabulary he has ingested. He orders breakfast from room service and a thesaurus is left outside his door. Suddenly ravenous, rapacious, gluttonous, famished, he eats, wolfs, gobbles, devours the tome seemingly in a matter of minutes. He lies down and catches a few moments' rest before returning to the dictionary again, and by now he no longer cares what sensations each page is giving him. He simply binges, reflexively, lost to the world. He does not make it to his scheduled appointment. His phone rings, surely an angry voice waiting on the other line, a voice demanding answers that Jerome will not give. He forgets nearly every detail of his own life, his mind instead filled with every relevant word of the English language, his stomach constantly empty. When his emaciated body is finally found in the husk of the abandoned hotel off of I-83, the detectives note the strange smile on his face, the clutched sheafs of paper in his stiffened fist. The coroner finds so much digested pulp in his stomach that the story easily tells itself. The last thing anybody at his workplace can recall Jerome saying before he wandered off on his seeing misadventure was, "See you Monday." "Famous last words," says one of the detectives, and the other smirks, wishing he'd thought to say it first.
Hey, it's Eric. It's day 17. I am waiting for the train right now to take it downtown to Navy Pier, where I will give a tour on a boat. I've been doing the tours for about a week now, and my arms are sunburnt, and sometimes it's exhausting, but sometimes it's fun. This weekend it was fucking raining out, and I had boats with like 3 people on them, and so that felt real shitty. Also, the NATO protests are coming to Chicago this weekend, and so I have to get my photo taken so I can get an ID badge, and that, I'm sure, will be a wonderful excursion. Hey, it's Eric. It's day 17. I am waiting for the train right now to take it downtown to Navy Pier, where I will give a tour on a boat. I've been doing the tours for about a week now, and my arms are sunburnt, and sometimes it's exhausting, but sometimes it's fun. This weekend it was fucking raining out, and I had boats with like 3 people on them, and so that felt real shitty. Also, the NATO protests are coming to Chicago this weekend, and so I have to get my photo taken so I can get an ID badge, and that, I'm sure, will be a wonderful excursion.
Day 2, what the hell am I?
Day 17.
Day 2 of the fruit flush. It's really early. It's like 7 in the morning. We have a 4-show day. I bought some strawberries and some juice mix. Hopefully my stomach isn't going to hurt today. Stool seems to be alright, not too extreme, but it is only the second day. We'll see. We have 4 shows and we're done by like 3 p.m. So most of my day is going to be in the next few hours.
And then you're in serious trouble. Very serious trouble. And you know it, finally. Deadly serious trouble because this substance you thought was your one true friend, that you gave up all for, gladly, that for so long gave you relief from the pain of the losses your love of that relief caused, Your mother and lover and God and compadre has finally removed its smiley face mask to reveal centerless eyes and a ravening maw and canines down to here. It's the face in the floor, the grinning root-white face of your worst nightmares, and the face is your own face in the mirror. Now it's you. The substance has devoured or replaced... Hey, this is Eric again. As I've been working this new job, I found myself drinking more coffee than I ever have before in order to keep up with my new workload and the other projects that I'm maintaining. I'm also reading this book, Infinite Jest, and a significant chunk of the book takes place in an Alcoholics Anonymous, where everyone drinks so much coffee. This is a passage from one of those chapters set in AA, and I thought it was a neat coincidental intersection of my new workload mixed with substance binging and then the purging of addictive substances from your body. So I thought I would share it with all of you. Enemy. And your worst personal nightmare and the trouble it's gotten you into is undeniable, but you still can't stop. Doing the substance now is like attending Black Mass, but you still can't stop, even though the substance no longer gets you high. You are, as they say, finished. You cannot get drunk, you cannot get sober, you cannot get high, and you cannot get straight. You are behind bars. You are in a cage, and you can only see bars in every direction. You are in the kind of a hell of a mess that either ends lives or turns them around. You are at a fork in the road that Boston AA calls your bottom, though the term is misleading, because everyone here agrees it's more like someplace very high and unsupported. You're on the edge of something tall and leaning way out forward.
I'm in one of those phases where I'm saying yes to a lot of things. We all get into it and you say yes because everything seems like fun. Hi, cat. Everything seems like fun, so you say yes, and then you have no time to do anything really well, or you do. You still do it well. You try to do it well, but like it always feels like you're just hanging on to it. I kind of feel like I'm in that, and that means binge and purge to me. Like you're binging on this cool shit to do, and then you just purge. You just like puke out your ideas, which is kind of nice sometimes to just
give me some of that apple
puke it out.
crisp.
And I think I
Give
want
me
to do
some of
that
that
more often.
apple
Just do it.
crisp.
Just do it.
Give me some of that apple
Yeah, Yeah,
crisp.
that's why I like
Give me
Becky
some of
Poole
that
character,
apple
'cause
crisp.
she's just like, yeah, do it, have fun, whatever.
Sing it. Yeah, motherfucker, sing
Binge
it.
and purge.
Binge
Maybe
and
that
purge.
means
Why do I always
my
feel
clothes
like
that are over
I
10,
Oh, you're such a
12 years old
No,
when I
all
work
the time,
out,
except
where
when you're
I purge
running.
my clothes and slope being blown shopping, buy some.
when I work
just
out
said
maybe
binge.
twice, and then I'm like, oh, that's probably good.
Yeah, that sounds kind of dumb.
This is a frog, and it's gonna die. This is a frog, we're all gonna die. This is a frog, but it's alive now. So don't squeeze it, don't squeeze it.
The end of long day 17.
Sitting on a rock in a parking lot of a sleep-in lounge hotel, a small town in Michigan. Just got done with a run. Ran for like a half hour. I had that stomach ache all day, probably from the fruit and the nuts, and being on the road, doing puppet shows and not sleeping much. So I'm sitting on a rock and feeling a little pensive today, but in that sort of more productive, romantic, pensive way, where you kind of dig your depression. Then you can't really call it depression. Maybe it's more like melancholy. I think I'm the only one doing the fruit flush, and I'm hardly doing it. As you can probably hear, I'm eating peanuts. But I like challenges. I think I was going to commit to it, no matter whether everyone did it or not. But I think I like the challenge even more. The absurdity of trying to do it on the road. Trying to learn a new skill, puppeting. Getting up really early, which I'm not very used to. Performing in front of hundreds of kids, which I'm notorious for not really liking kids. Well, I can't really say I don't like kids. I just think they know more than me, and it frightens me to be around them. I didn't really like them when I was little, so why should my feelings about them change now? I just don't trust them. But sometimes, they are cute. I think this is really strange. I didn't have this when I was little. When the teachers wanted to get us quiet, they would raise their hand in the air and do like a little peace sign with their hand. Now they have this clap thing where, let me see if I can do it. Hold on. That was kind of it, not really, but basically the teacher will start clapping and then everyone claps and everyone kind of like shuts up. That's it. Stomachache coming back a little bit now. Maybe nuts and fruit are not where it's at while being on the road in a puppet show. Just got confirmation from Bilal and Eric that they are not on the fruit flush. Oh well.
It's Eric. I think it's day 18. I just talked to John on the internet and about the podcast, and now I'm drunk and it's 3:25 in the morning, and I'm going to right now look in the freezer to make sure to see if maybe I have some, there's some vegetarian chicken meats in here, some soy chicken, and maybe I'll eat some of that. And I am drunk, and hence this is my binge. If I vomit, that'd be my purge. Oh, there's cheese in my refrigerator, but I don't know if there's anything I can eat my cheese on. I got this cheese. It's Jesus. I called my dad a minute ago.
John here at around 10 p.m. I just picked up some Arby's. I never eat it. I think I made it because I actually started Sunday night not using the fruit just to test it. But my stomach has been hurting badly for the last 3 hours, so I don't know if it was a good idea to try a fruit flush while I'm also being very active, performing in front of 400 or 500 kids, sweating out everything. So I don't know if this is going to make my stomach feel better or worse.
This is Kurt and Jessica. First update in the bedroom with the kitty. May 18th, 2012. So, Kurt, what are you working on?
I honestly haven't thought of it at all. But when I thought of it today, I think of Purge working the way that I thought of actually like the first time that I worked with John, of like create everything and then get rid of everything to find the one thing. So there's a purge in that process.
And I'm all food. I'm just staying food.
Yeah.
Food. Like when we bought that stuff at the gas station today, I wanted to buy them out of Funyuns. I wanted to buy every last Funyun ring. Not even eat them, just look at them.
I love peach rings.
Food.
I like food, food tastes good. I like food, food tastes good. Juicy burger, juicy fight. Julie Lady, Robin style. Teenage girl, what type of food? Got my way or I'll eat too. I like food, food tastes good. I like food, food tastes good. Good since I'm back at eating. I like food, food tastes good. I like food, food tastes good.
Hello, this is John and Steph on day 20. We have 2 days off, and we're going to go canoeing. We just got some supplies for this canoe trip on
Flint River.
the Flint River.
Day 21.
I really enjoy popping my blackheads. It probably goes along with the way I enjoy picking scabs and popping zits, but popping blackheads seems to be it just is uniquely satisfying.
John, it's Tip again. I already said I had a thing with Kesha. I also have this weird obsession with the Kardashians. I look at them more as like a social experiment. Everything that they do is fake, so they're kind of pulling one over on all of it. It's amazing. They're kind of amazing. I love them in a really terrible, terrible way.
I've taken the farting in public and then blaming it on the little girl. You farted and you know it. And she's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, you totally did. Shame. And then I'm like,
Showers, I feel guilty about wasting water and using heating and air conditioning and using electricity pretty much in general.
I still think the Transformer ones is really good.
I don't know what to say. That one's so personal, though. I mean, that's really.
What's personal about it?
It's like I don't even do that with the little girls. The little girls are like, let's play with these dolls, and I'm like, no. And then when I go home, I'm like super stressed out, and I pull out Dinobot and Optimus Primal, and I like reenact like some of the episodes, and I'm not even kidding.
This one is definitely the most embarrassing to say publicly. If I have an itch, I will scratch it, and I will scratch it until it hurts to scratch it. But often when I am at home, I find that I am more aware of the scratches in places that you probably in public would never scratch, like your crotch or your butt. You know, I just really let myself enjoy that, not in a sexual way, just like this itches, and I spend most of my time in my life trying to pretend this doesn't itch. So I definitely really let myself kind of make a job of it when I'm alone.
I remember there was some family function, probably a wedding, and one of my cousins asked me what was going on with my forehead, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I was pretty dirty. I didn't shower a lot, didn't really take care of myself very well. And she said she thought somebody had gone to my forehead with a pen and put all these dots. Turned out they were blackheads.
Hey, this is Logan. My guilty pleasure is a music group. It's Veruca Salt, the girl group from the 90s. I still like to listen to them, and sometimes I sing along in sort of a high-pitched falsetto. And it's definitely something that I wouldn't want other people to see happen or hear.
We're now recording Steve Walker.
I would say, my guilty pleasure is smoking. I'm smoking right now. And I know it's bad for me, so I feel guilty of that. It could do bodily harm to me. So I suppose I feel guilty about that. And, but it's a pleasure in that I get pleasure from it.
That is the actual term in itself.
The very definition.
And then died since the day he was born now. That think that I'm fallen, but I'm thrown. And I thought I'd live forever, but now I'm not sure. You try to keep away, keep her, but I don't listen anyhow. Anyway, with you, stay.
I was about 19 or 20. I was 19. I was taking the trains around Europe. It's an overnight train from Venice to Paris, I think, and I ended up sharing, there was just like the 6-seat kind of cabins or whatever they're called. I shared that with a guy who he was a translator for the UN, and he was reading Aldous Huxley, I remember The Island. And so we talked about books for a bit, and we were just talking. Then he asked me if he wanted to buy me a beer, and I said sure. So we went to the dining car, and he bought me like a beer or two before it closed down. We went back, and I was, we were smoking in the hallway or whatever. And then he asked if I wanted him to pop my blackheads. And that's when I finally kind of got that he was coming on to me or hitting on me or whatever. So I told him no, I didn't want him to do that. That seemed weird. Then I went to sleep or whatever.
I just recorded that, so.
You did?
It's day 22. Me and Steph are returning back to the Durand Quality Inn, where they've been keeping Steph's water bottle hostage in the locked workout room.
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Crazy story. Man called Steph some bad names on the phone while talking to corporate. So we're here to pick it up finally. I think he felt, frightened. I don't know if corporate can get him in trouble, but all of a sudden we got a call saying that it has been freed from the workout room. So we're going to go pick it up now.
And John's going to be my muscle.
I'm going to be the muscle. Here we go. We should just bring some puppets in with us. Just scare them and freak them out. Dress up like Rob.
The bad man wasn't there when we went to go get the water bottle. It was our favorite receptionist, Megan. She just handed it to us, and we said goodbye and left.
Well, that was Megan. She's actually the good one that we like there, the good old gal. So a little history about her. She's having a baby. I think almost all the people working there are having babies.
Yeah, every single person's having a baby in there.
But she's on her... Wait, this is her 4 children that she has, but only 3 of them are hers. But how old do you think she is?
There's no way she's any older than 23 or 24.
Yeah, she's 23 or 24, and she's on her 4th child. Crazy!
Hey, it's Eric. It's day 22. I just got from my job a form that I have to go take a drug test, and so I think I'm going to have to do a juice purge real soon. Ugh.
Day 22, John here. I was going to try the fruit flush again. You know, I've been doing really good on the food, even though I'm not purging things completely. Wow, on the road? You know, I think at home I was binging too much and just not feeling too good. And then I think on the road, been busy. I think busy is a good part of, is a good way for me to stay healthy. But now I'm in the Cracker Barrel, which is not a good place to stay healthy. I felt I deserved a nice little meal for the night, so that's where I am. I'm getting some kind of chicken tenderloin with Max and dumplings. Then I also bought some mallow cups.
Hey, it's Eric. It's day 23. I just bought a lot of cranberry juice and a lot of water, and I'm just going to flush my system. I didn't buy a lot of water. I bought a lot of cranberry juice. I'm going to drink a lot of water. And, yeah, I'm getting ready for this drug test.
Becky Poole, day 23. And that's my cat. I really didn't expect this piece to be about puking or competition with women, but I guess it did. I guess that's what's in there. So I won't apologize for it. I'll just say here's some stuff about that, with some special help from Harry Belafonte and Michael Balzer. Who's eating? Oh, is it the fact that I'm ugly? You know the song?
No, I don't.
So repeat that for me, what you said about breakfast meats. Like jam it all in the morning. It makes me tired.
Play a game called the Bulimia Twins, and this was which we tried to throw up. We were both in dance and surrounded by skinniness.
I wish I could just do
healthy skinny and unhealthy skinny.
Girls
So
who
we
play
were
the
like, well, we
ukulele
should
on
probably
YouTube.
be bulimic.
They,
We're
like,
high school dancers.
they have bangs,
Let's go give it a shot.
and they just
Bulimia
turn on
Twins
the
on fire.
computer and play a ukulele
And
song.
I couldn't make myself
And everybody
do it.
loves it.
We couldn't do it.
And they're great. I'm not even, I'm just ripping them here. I'm saying also that I wish I was a little more like that I can just output, output.
If you like ukulele banging like you. If you like to ride a fixie bike, then ukulele banging right you. If you like ukulele banging like you. If you like to ride a fixie bike, then ukulele banging right you.
And anorexia is just not in the cards because I love food. I think about it a lot. I think about anorexia and bulimia often, probably every day. Yeah, I think about it every day.
We used to have lumberjack breakfasts at like Denny's where you get like a slab of ham.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like.
And bacon.
Day 25.
Steph and I did a 4-show day that kind of whipped both our asses, so we have spent the early evening in our hotel room drinking a little, her some wine. They have these in Michigan they have these value stores where you can get 10 small bottles of wine for $10, and I've just been drinking some Makers. But right now I'm looking at an abandoned hotel right across the lot from where we're staying. We've had 2 hotels in a row where we were near abandoned hotels, and we actually thought the abandoned hotels was where we were to stay. We were wrong both times.
Hello there, this is Kurt. Day 18, I think. It's May 23rd. It is 11:37. If it's not day 18, I'll just say some numbers that you can edit into. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think it's somewhere in there.
Kurt was actually completely wrong. It wasn't even near days 15 through 20. He was on day 25.
This is just Kurt. She's asleep right now. I'm just thinking more again about process and collecting and having like a lot in your brain. I think about technology. I've been going through this thing where people, when they see my phone, they think it's too small. They think the phone's too small now, where I got flack before about the phone being too big, and now the phone's too small, because now, like, you need a bigger phone now, again. And that made me think about getting rid of things, which is like a really like American thing for people to do, to get rid of everything. And that's why they love like the exoticness, like Eastern culture of taking away things. There's a lot of that I really agree with, and there's also a lot that I like my stuff. I just like my stuff, and not in that like L word way where that like that lady is crying about her stuff, but just like, I just like stuff. I don't want to get rid of my stuff. Is that great? That's like a bad thing. Like, you have to make it small. But then online clutter, that's something. Online clutter. So, what are you supposed to do? Get rid of stuff or not get rid of stuff? What if you just want to organize your stuff? Maybe I should just organize it better. I should probably just organize it better. People like organization. Craig Ferguson's on. I should probably watch less TV, like at night, too. Is that a purge? That's a purge. I need to get a bike, too. But then I have a bike. And then should I get a small bike or a big bike? Oh, I'm in the library again.
Day 27, after a 5-hour ride from Michigan to Cincinnati, and then a 6-hour drive from Cincinnati to Chicago, Steph having done all the driving because, sadly, I don't have a license. But I did sit up the whole time and kind of navigate from the shotgun seat. We were both very exhausted. She still had another 45-minute drive after dropping me off, so I hope she's okay. Wow. Good night.
The mysteries of science are out there everywhere, waiting for all of you to solve them. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye!
Day 28.
All right, Simon, are you ready to take this tour with me?
Oh man, I'm super excited to take this tour with you, Eric. This is going to be awesome.
Is it going to be awesome?
Super awesome.
You look real excited.
I feel so excited.
Great. Well, then let's just go ahead and I'm going to start doing the tour for you. You ready? Here we go. So the first building that we're going to look at is NBC Tower.
Eric, wait.
Okay.
Quick question. What do these buildings look like from like the perspective just of like standing inside them and peering at us as we're looking at the buildings and like taking pictures and pointing at the buildings?
I don't really know, but okay, this is the Equitable building. It's a modernist style.
Eric, sorry. When the Willis Tower stares out over its dominion of neighborhoods with hundreds of dumb dilated pupils, like who stares back at it?
Well, we'll actually get to the Willis Tower in just a second.
Sorry. What did these buildings look like before they were here? Like, what did that like column of atmosphere and the shape of a skyscraper look like before its dimensions were brought out and bought by land speculators? What did it look like when it was just like a vacant spot in a skyline of stone?
Well, this is an architectural tour.
What did it look like when it was like sand and ore living deep underground in Latin America and Southeast Asia? Cool. And then what did it look like when it was dragged over land and water by ships and trains, leaving a trail of like ashen sky in its wake? What about that?
Interesting, because the Aeon Center used to be clad in marble.
Eric, sorry, wait one second. What did it look like when the workers were emulsifying this flow of metal and glass into a structure? And what did this building look like when it was a work site before it became a tall stack of empty rooms? What did this building look like when it was nightly calluses on the hands of construction workers?
Calluses, I imagine.
Where were those workers interred? Their hardened calluses like softening in the dirt. Do you know?
Chicago used to be a swamp.
Tall buildings pulled from the depths of southern countries bit by bit and assembled into like dark stone and glass heights by the labor of black and brown and migrant peoples. A flow of materials and human energies that congealed into an obelisk rooted in this marshland and commodified.
That's not a question. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I wish I knew the answer to your question, Simon, and I was planning on looking up a sort of alternative history to this tour, but I've been too exhausted. Today, I spent 7.5 hours in the sun, saying things like, Chicago has more movable bridges than any other city in the world, over and over and over again, as if I was just realizing this information for the first time. That's the balance you have to strike with tour guiding, a tone that makes it look like I have complete inexhaustible knowledge of the city, and a tone that says, what I'm saying really excites me.
Yeah, that sucks. And what's worse, I'm guessing that there are a lot of people in tourist destinations around the world who feel similarly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I can say that I don't care about downtown, but I'm selling it. And if it means you will tip me, I will say Chicago has 2 seasons, winter and construction, until you toss money at me to shut me up. I do my best to tell stories of screw-ups and mistakes of the city. That keeps me interested. The marble and the terracotta that has dropped from skyscrapers and hit people, the floods created by poor city management, the time we poisoned our drinking water and killed 80,000 people. But I still have to celebrate Daniel Burnham, who hated the chaotic city and wanted to paint the world white. I feel gross referring to the Boeing building without talking about how they're Chicago's biggest military contractor. I have had to pretend to care about the name changes of buildings until I actually have become interested in the changing names of buildings. Our city has had 180 years of name changes.
Yeah, and we're at a moment where we can determine what the next 180 years looks like.
Wait, shut up. This building looks really cool at night. Its lighting is designed by the same guy who designed the lighting for the Louvre and the pyramids.
Oh, really? That's cool, that one? Oh. But that doesn't answer any of my questions.
Day 29. When I was very young, which I often refer to as the chaos of my youth, violence and screaming was the norm for my older siblings dealing with my parents' divorce. Father left mother to fend for herself with a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 6-year-old, that was me, and a 2-year-old baby sister. As were my older siblings rebelled against the parental authority of an overwhelmed single mother, I clung to the aforementioned mother and became the voyeur of the destructive, brutal, stubborn, profane antics of my angered and saddened elder brothers and sister. I witnessed my brother bash a hole through our living room wall, large enough for me to crawl into and hide. I witnessed my older brother tackling my other brother over my mother, forcing them all through the back door, ripping it off its hinges, propelling all 3 of them and the door into my backyard, with my brother throwing punches around my mother and around the door, trying to wound my other brother. My older sister did not have a physically violent streak, but she could scream louder and longer than anyone I had ever met up to that point. She was a very beautiful girl, but she could turn into a demon instantly. My younger sister, once old enough, even before she was old enough, tried to get involved, tried to stop the violence, but often wound up sitting with me, crying, watching from the stairs or through a window. It was my duty to be a mama's boy, to give her a moment's peace, and I nurtured this calling by putting my head in her lap, listening to the music she loved. Roger Whittaker, Gordon Lightfoot, Jim Croce, and Cat Stevens. In turn, I learned to love that music too. In the insecure years of junior high, in order to survive, I forgot about my mother for a while and the music she gave me. I turned in my polyester plaid pants for jeans and concert shirts. I traded easy listening for the hard rock of the 70s, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, UFO, the Scorpions, and of course, the bizarre and glamoured anti-hero Alice Cooper. My best friend John Braun and I would rock out in his living room to new records and VHS videos of bootleg concerts that his Lieutenant Cop dad confiscated from derelict teens on a regular basis, only to give them as gifts to his only son. One day we were playing rhythm and lead air guitar, preparing our stage performances for our yet-to-be-discovered band Torturer. We were playing along to a video of Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare. John jumped off his couch, and I slid between his legs. It was an amazing move. We paused for a moment to bathe in our awesomeness. Then John said, "Did you know that Alice Cooper's guitarist also plays for Elton John?" I said, "Huh, you must love playing with Alice Cooper so much more." Then John paused, looked at me critically, and said, "Why?" I had nothing to say. I put down my air guitar and silently walked home. John was right. There was no reason for that statement. It was purely based on my naive judgment of what type of music is best, is more honorable, and most awesome. That year, for Christmas, I asked and received 3 vinyl LPs, Iron Maiden's Killers, The Best of Beethoven, and Elton John's Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. My mother was still my mother, and my best friend was still my friend, and there was no need for embarrassment or division any longer.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live.
I set out to explore my own views on guilty pleasures, but because of the emergency puppet show, I obviously got sidetracked. So I let you, friends and associates, speak for me. Some persons with similar views as myself had doubts about guilty pleasures and felt that one should commit without shame to the things they find themselves watching, eating, or acting within. And I also feel, as my friend Kathy stated earlier in the podcast,
I know I'm not cool anymore. In other words, I could give a shit.
But even these doubters of shame, including myself, with just a bit of time, could easily come up with examples. And so, we are all willing to cop to these guilty pleasures that make us cringe and laugh, because we know we are human. So, I guess I can relate to this when I eat Cool Ranch Doritos instead of mowing the lawn, or during those many times I scratch off that scab on my chest, then let it grow back, so that I can scratch it off, so that it can grow back, so that I can scratch it off again, so that it can grow back. What I find truly interesting is the line between the pleasures we are willing to share and the ones we aren't. I call the second grouping dark pleasures. These are the ones we don't admit to or have a harder time grappling with during our socially acceptable day-to-day. They are the secrets we keep secret because they are secrets and we are flawed. These dark pleasures I admit to having, and I can also admit that I'm not willing to share them with you.
I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think it's somewhere in there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think it's somewhere in there. 10, 15, 11, 16, 12, 17, 13, 18, 14, 19, 20. I think it's somewhere 17, 18. 9, 10, 11, I think it's 12, 10, 13, 11, 14, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 10, 11, 18, 12, 19, 20, 14, I think it's 10, 11, I like my stuff, 13, like 14, and not in that like L word way, or that like, that lady's crying about her stuff, it's just like, I just like stuff, I don't want to get rid of my stuff. 10, 11, 12, that's like 14. A bad thing. Like, you have to make it small. But then online clutter, that's something. 10, online 11, 12, 13, 14. What are you supposed to do? Get rid of stuff or not get rid of stuff?
There's actually nothing nothing American about clutter. That's like, no, what'd I say? That people want to get rid of stuff? Americans want to get rid of stuff? That's not true. That's a very American thing to want to keep everything. That's why there's IKEA, who just that's economy. That's European. I don't know anything about Europe, America. I don't know how to talk about these things. I just know that I don't want to throw away my CDs and I don't want to throw away my tapes. Although I never really had that many tapes to begin with. I was of a CD generation, so I just like having the thing. I like having the thing.
What if you just want to organize your stuff? Maybe I should just organize it better.
You're good.
I should probably just organize it better.
You can do that.
People like organization.
It doesn't matter.
What? Craig Ferguson's on. I should probably watch less TV like at night.
You don't watch that much.
Is that a purge? That's
TV.
I need to get a bike too.
Yeah.
But then I have a bike.
So
should I get a small bike or a big bike?
Just have a bike. It's just a bike.
I'm in the library again.
No one cares that you're in a library. It's not actually a library, it's a dining room.
Hello there, this is Kurt.
Jessica wrote this at a desk, at a chair, on a computer, based on a single postcard taped to her notebook. So, I'm Chinese, and I'm a schoolgirl, and I'm walking up the stairs to math class, and I know something bad is about to happen. I can feel my scalp on the backs of my hands. The railing is made of men, of dogs, of dust. There is nothing to hold. Nothing to hold. They meet me in the bathroom. They are waiting. There are 6 little Chinese girls dressed exactly as I am dressed. They poke me with sticks. They get me on my knees. They put their fingers down my throat. They throw me up because they don't want me to go to math class. They want me in the toilet. They leave me in the toilet. I am a minnow in the next lifetime. The world is very big. Little girls press their pudgy faces to the glass. They watch me suckle dark-colored flakes, watch me trail ribbons of shit. I get tangled in my ribbons and choke to death. I float up the red sea thanks to the elderly woman with the porcelain pots. I am passed on to the next life. I am a movie star with huge lips. Everybody loves me. I have 6 slaves. They are dressed exactly as I am dressed. Sailor hats and tennis skirts. We have huge feet and peroxide hair. The Queen of England sends us cheese in red boxes. We keep our hands to ourselves and we vomit in Ziploc bags. We throw away our possessions daily and we always live near the water.
I'm starting a minute now. We have a minute to do this.
Okay, end of our 30 days, take 2.
John and I are drunk, and you have a minute, John. Talk.
I'm letting you. I realized that I was talking over you a lot in the last couple podcasts. So
that's okay.
Quiet.
That's fine. 38 seconds left. What do you want to say at the end of our podcast? All right, John and I.
What do you want to say? All right.
Oh, fuck. John's pissed because I stopped in.
Oh, we had
23 seconds. What do you want to say?
It just went away. Even the phone gave up on us.
No, the phone didn't give up. The phone's still 18 seconds. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Thank you to everyone involved. Right?
Oh, yeah. Thank everyone involved.
We both are losing our voices.
We're losing our voices, and we're taking donations now to help compensate for the things. Thanks for
0. We ran out. This is the sound. We're done. I don't think we're allowed to talk anymore.
Anyone doing that one? I'm doing it.